coffee set up, so we're ready to go too. Stephanie, I see you're on there. Can you hear me okay? We're still looking for Stephanie. This is everybody. Oh, Delina. We're looking for Delina still. Hopefully she'll hop on too today. So welcome, you guys. We are just going to go over basic macros today. And I know that a couple of you have already been doing our macro plan for a while. So I'm going to try to bridge the gap between what you already know and then kind of try to today help you with holidays and some things that maybe are giving you some trouble. Kate, how much have you had a chance to look at the ebook or just kind of get acclimated with what we're doing?
Very little.
Okay, that's cool. We want to start with a little bit. I know Patty, you've been putting some time and effort into it as well. So bear with me. I'm going to go a little bit back and talk a little bit about the difference with macro counting and just kind of give you an overall big picture about what it is we're actually doing here. Macro counting, IIFYM, is kind of the new trend. It's just called several different things. It's called flexible dieting, macro counting. It's sometimes called flex. It actually just was created actually in the late 70s because bodybuilders were basically bored with what they were doing. So they had figured out that being able to swap things in and out did not affect their physique as long as it fit the macros that they were looking for. And one thing we know about bodybuilders is they sometimes don't represent as the smartest people, but they do know their physique and they do follow a really good plan to get them to their goals. So we definitely can draw from that. Science actually tells us that carbs and fats and proteins register the same. So when you think about, well, I can't eat sugar, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. A carb is a carb is a carb. Sugar is a carb. Just proteins are proteins. So knowing that gives us the opportunity to have some flexibility in our food and not have to worry about, well, I have to remove all of these food groups. So if it fits your macros, hi Stephanie. If it fits your macros is basically not a diet at all, which is why I really like it, because it's about you. And everything in my plan, I want every one of my clients to understand is this isn't a diet that Dr. Oz is going to hand you. This is about you and your journey and who you are and what's going to make you the best you can possibly be. And that comes from learning about how you eat, and following macro plan is everybody has their own. So IIFYM is not going to be anything that somebody else can take your macros and be successful on. This is really truly about you. And you're going to be counting the three macronutrients are protein, carbs, fats, but we also count the micronutrient fiber. So each day with IIFYM, you are going to track your macros. Whatever you want to eat is up to you. But when you hit those macros, you want to stop eating. Most of the clients kind of have a pretty good idea where protein, carbs, and fats, their protein, carbs, and fats are because they're listed on the food label. And this is just a quest bar. So you can see that there always is a food label on all food. So except for fruit and produce, obviously, but we'll talk about that later. So we're actually tracking the protein, carbs, and fats each day, and we want to hit them plus or minus 5. Now, the micronutrient fiber is kind of the wild card. In IIFYM, we have a certain fiber goal that we want to reach each day, and that is critical. That makes us not be able to sit around and eat Pop-Tarts all day. So we definitely are going to be eating some really good food, and we're definitely going to be having some variety in our food because there is no food that's off limits. And one of the things that I like about if it fits your macros is it fits for everybody. We have some vegans. I have a girl who competed, totally vegan. She looked amazing. She took a trophy home. People say, no, you can't do that. You have to eat meat. No, you don't. You can eat what you like. she's vegan. We have a lot of people who are gluten intolerant or peanut intolerant, diabetic. You can have whatever style of food you want. Paleo works. Really, any kind of style of food works for you as long as you hit your numbers each day. So it's kind of nice because, again, this is really boils down to who you are. And that's my hope and dream for my program, is that we can kind of stop living in a world where someone hands us a diet and it's 6 small meals a day and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like me. So that's kind of where the success lies. Okay. So if you're taking notes, I'm going to mention this several times, but I want to reiterate this a lot because this is critical. If you're taking notes, write this down. Consistency wins over perfection. 100% of the time. There's a really nice place where you don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep trying. The journey is amazing because every single day that I do this program, if I make a mistake, it's not really a mistake at all. It's really based on what I learned today and how I can maybe tweak that and see if I can do a little bit better job tomorrow. So there is no diet fail when you don't hit your macros or when you go over your macros or if you have a binge. There's no diet fail here. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but I want you to understand consistency is what we're looking for. Now, the scenario is most of the time with my clients, we get clients who are a lot like me, who do I am so good during the week, but the weekend happens and Ballpark Village happens and we go to a game and we, like a little alcohol happens and I spiral out of control. So for what we need to know, and this is also in the ebook, for fat loss, which most of us are working on, especially trying to get leaner and tighter, we want to be in a deficit of calories. So for fat loss, we want to be in a deficit of calories. The 2 ways that you're going to do that are training hard and burning body fat and also eating less. So most of us have done a really great job during the week where we're feeling like really good about our food, and then the weekends go a little haywire. What ends up happening is the calories that we consume during the week are less, but the calories we consume on the weekend put us over into a surplus. And that's what was happening with me when I couldn't get control of my physique for a very long time, because I do have a little bit of a binge eating disorder thing happening. I always have had. So getting that wrangled in was tough for me. I'm really good when I'm on a strict diet, but finding balance so that I don't blow it out on the weekends was really tough. So we were able to notice that this is one of the secrets that I'm telling you in the book. 7 days of a deficit is what you're looking for. So if you need to write this down. You need to be in a deficit for a full 7 days for your fat loss. And that is why so many diets fail, especially for clients who are really good during the week, because they say, oh my gosh, it's so regimented because I'm at work, but we don't really have a plan for the weekend, or we'll go out to dinner Friday and then it's just kind of like falls by the wayside. And then Monday morning, you wake up and you're frustrated because your pants are fluffy and you don't feel you don't feel lean and tight. So we want to make sure that we have a plan for the full 7 days. So with macro counting, fat loss happens at the end of 7 days, okay? We're looking for that full amount of being consistent for 7 days. Does that make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. And that's, again, most of our clients really come from us. I think most everybody is super awesome at work and they bring their lunch and they have a really good idea of what they need to eat. But the weekends will put us into a surplus really quickly if we're not careful. So we will make a plan for the weekends, and I will teach you how to do that, and I will teach you how to master that holiday food too, because then we're going to talk about that this week too. Mm-hmm. So with macro counting, consistency wins over perfection every single time. Write this down. The diet you should do is the one you see yourself doing a year from now. And that simply means consistency wins over perfection. If I jump from one diet to another diet, I went from paleo and then I went to the Whole 30 and I removed a whole bunch of food groups. your body is like, I don't know what's happening. I have no idea what's happening. So when you think about what you want and what your physique goal is, we want to master one plan and find yourself that say, I can totally do this. And that's why macro counting is amazing, because it's you. It's all about you. And it's all about what you like to eat and what you want in your daily food. So that is why I find it to be the best plan. We have a lot of people who are clean eaters. Have you ever heard of clean eating before?
Yeah.
Is that you, Patty?
Oh, yeah.
I know, right? So I also fell into the clean eating, I guess you want to say the trend for clean eating. The thing about clean eating is we don't really have a full definition of what it is, and it really actually doesn't exist, because if you are paleo, then you shouldn't have grains, and then grains are not clean. And if you're a diabetic, then sugar is not clean. So it depends on who you ask what a clean diet is. Most people use the terminology non-processed, or basically if it comes from Mother Earth, it's clean. That is simply not the case, because we learned earlier that your body processes food. Carbs are carbs, fats are fats, and proteins are proteins. So the food that you do choose to eat, if you are a clean person and only want to eat grass-fed and all of that stuff, that is all right. That is okay. You can eat whatever you want to, whatever style of food you want to. But I want to give you the science back so that you don't have to label yourself if you don't want to label yourself. When I was eating clean, I drove everybody crazy, because I would say, milk's not clean, there's this, there's that. And then pretty soon there was nothing left to eat. I removed all the food groups. And then as soon as I found a dark corner, I would find myself with Pop-Tarts and all kinds of crazy things, and, icing in my hair, and I'm crying, and just went off the deep end, because I restricted myself so hard on the food that I was not supposed to eat. Then I felt bad about eating the food, because my brain told me, oh my gosh, you ate all that food that isn't clean. And then there was a whole cycle of negative self-talk and so forth. So my choice in this journey, because I've been doing it for several years now, is to get better about not labeling who I am and just eating for me. And I know that's like a real broad general term, but what had happened to a lot of people is they started off on the Whole30, where they pull all the food out and there's nothing left. Or maybe they went over here and they did HG. Bless you, girl. So pretty soon, everybody's like scrambling from diet to diet, and they don't really have a clear picture of what their body actually needs to reach their goals. So the body is like, I don't know. Are we dieting? Are we overeating? I have no idea what's going on. When you start to think about the food that you like, I just decided to be who I was. I eat like a 4-year-old. Everything I have has a sprinkle component to it. So here is the Len and Larry's Complete Cookie. I have one of these every single day, but it has sprinkles on it. I put sprinkles in my shake. I like pancakes. I like things that have a sweet flavor to them. I'm not really a savory girl. So the bulk of my food actually looks the way that I want it to. And that makes me successful for a couple reasons. It's not somebody else telling me what I should or shouldn't eat. It also feels like me. I don't have to eat 6 small meals a day. I can eat whenever I want to. Basically, I can do this because it's me. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm excited to eat my foods, because maybe I'm going to have a Pop-Tart for breakfast or whatever. And I'm ready to go. I'm not dreading or looking forward to the end of my diet. So with macro counting, IIFYM, you are picking the food and you're going to eat the way you want to. We started you guys off with 3 days of tracking. So I was really looking forward to seeing not what you ate, but the amount of food that you did eat, so that we could not have to throw the baby out with the bathwater and have you say, I don't know what to eat. We don't have to do that. We're going to kind of look at what you were eating, and then if you need more protein or you need more carbs or less carbs, etc., then we could tweak that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So who tracked their first 3 days already? Stephanie, you've tracked first, because you were not feeling well. So we have a few more days to track for you. How are you feeling today?
Still a little, I feel like it kind of came back again,
Oh
so,
no, oh no,
yeah.
you need to rest then too. Were you able to track it all? Anything that you had yet?
Yeah, I did
Um,
track for a few days, so I can send that to you, or I don't know if you can get in and look.
You can send it to me if you screen
Okay.
cap it though. That would be super cool. And what I'm looking for is the totals. Because like if it's I don't need to know what you ate because I'm not going to be the food police for everybody, but I like to see the total or a pie chart where it says the percentage of protein, carbs, and fats, etc. And that way we have just were you finding that you were pretty spot on, or were you kind of over or under in places?
I don't think I ever got what macros I should be eating from you, so I wasn't really sure. So I have something logged in there that I tried to calculate myself, but I'm not sure if I did that accurately or not.
Okay, that's fine because the beginning macros don't make a difference. Here's why I also have you track. If a client tells me that she only eats 800 calories a day and the macro science calculations that I use have her on 16, we don't want to do that. We want to do a reverse diet out. So I literally have those 3 days of just you so that I know what we're working with. So if you're somebody I have a client who came to me with, like 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day. Well, we know we have to get her into a deficit for loss, but I didn't bring her down to 1,600. Like we know we can take her down a little bit slower. So those 3 days were just to see who you are so that I can make a really good decision on how we give you the macros from now on too, so you can reach your goals too. So as soon as you want to send me those numbers, that would be awesome. And that would be super helpful for me to do a good job for you on that too. The ones that you get right off the calculator on the websites and stuff, everybody gets those. And let me tell you something, those are just not accurate because there are so many variables like we just discussed. Like I have had clients who really gained weight on the macros that came right off the calculator online because there was too much food for what they had been consuming. So I'm pretty picky about making sure that we tweak your macros to you. And we're using definitely, when you think about the macros that you're going to get, you're definitely going to see yourself have a good amount of fat, but you're not going to ever drop down to like next to no fat at all because your body needs it and your hormones needs it. And a lot of people say, I'm just not going to eat the fat. So we don't do that. We're going to aim for health here too. So that's good. So when we found out what your 3 days were looking like, write this down. No food timing is necessary. And that is really different to a lot of people who diet, where they say you have to eat 6 small meals each day because that's what's going to keep your body burning. Well, your body actually doesn't have a Swatch watch. So if you are on a time schedule where you end up having food at 11 o'clock at night, that is not a problem. What I have learned through this journey, though, is that for me, I don't sleep well when I have a lot of carbs before bed. So whereas science tells us you could have carbs before bed, for me, that tends to be a problem with my sleep. So I tend to use more protein in the night. And that is another reason why I love this program and why I'm 100% committed to helping you with it, because you're going to discover who you are and what your body is going to be able to handle and not handle while you do this program. The no meals, the 6 small meals a day thing is crazy. If I had you on a building program, we would definitely have a protein, have protein all the way through the day. But my goal every single day is to make sure that I eat when I want to. So I just pretty much graze all day long. I'm usually at my desk for the most part of the day. So I'll have a Quest bar here, and then I've got lunch prepared. It doesn't matter. We ask you to fuel your workouts, and I will send you the bracket for that so that you know for sure how to do that. But we definitely fuel your workouts, and definitely, if you end up having a lot of food left over at the end of the day, we'll try to bring it up so that you have more food during the day. You're not left with a huge amount of food at night too. So does that sound good? Like no meal timing is necessary. That's way better than 6 small meals. We had one client, she eats 10 small meals a day. Oh my gosh, you can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can eat whenever you want to. So that's cool. So that's one of the benefits of macro counting too. Okay, The difference in calorie counting versus macro counting, breaking down the protein, carbs, and fats, why that's important. Well, if you're lifting weights or you're training, you definitely are going to need protein. Most women don't get enough protein. That's a big shocker. Whenever we start pulling those first 3 days, we're going to see things like lots of carbs, lots of fat, and like no protein down here. So write this down. We're going to aim for our protein goals first. So my protein goal is 190 per day. And you can break that down if you want to chunk that out into meals, so that's easier for you to aim for. I know how to do it, so I'm pretty much starting my day off with pancakes. I have egg whites and oatmeal and pumpkin in my pancakes. That gives me about 38 grams of protein in the morning. So I have a big amount of protein to hit. Aim for protein first so you're not left with it at the end of the day. Too. So does that make sense? So that's going to definitely be something that you're going to strive for. Okay, consistency wins over perfection. We talked about that. Yes, I said it again. Why is that important? Because if you are consistent every single day, then bringing these little small successes together is absolutely going to get you to what you want. It's the stop and go that's going to cause us to not get to our physique goals. So that is like super, super important. Okay. So have you ever heard of Weight Watchers? I'm sure everybody has. I've done Weight Watchers before. I didn't hate it. Have you heard of it, Patty?
Oh yeah, I've done it.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that is interesting about Weight Watchers is it's basically macro counting, but there's no fiber component to it. So I'm sure they would like for you to have a certain amount of fruits and vegetables and certain amount of, they would love for you to have that amount. I had a client, and I talk about this in the ebook. This is a real story. She went to Weight Watchers, and then she came to my Biggest Loser boot camp every day. And she drank 24 points of vodka every single day. That was her points. The Weight Watchers was fully aware of that. They knew that that's how she was getting her points. I asked her how she managed the rest of the day, and she said sugar-free Jell-O, which has macros, by the way, but it's a free food on Weight Watchers. So what we know about that was, first of all, there was another problem that she probably needed to take care of. But secondly, there's no real macronutrients in the vodka. So with macro counting, you are going to have a variety of food, and your micro and macronutrients are going to create a very healthy picture of how you eat. So yes, she could lose weight on that, but basically, how possibly she's not going to get in the micronutrients? Who's on there? I hear someone needs to turn off their microphone. There we go. Okay, so that's simply one of the things why that's different, because we have certain criteria that we need to meet. You guys, I have to pause for 1 second. My dog is barking. Can you hold on for 1 second? Just stay put. Okay, sorry guys. Rob left the dog outside. Aww. Okay, so we were talking about, write this down. These are the things that we're going to be doing. We're going to hit our macros plus or minus 5 every single day. That's our goal. Has it, Patty, have you ever hit them spot on?
No. I came pretty close last night, but not quite.
I know, right? If you do, play the lottery, because that would be awesome. I think I hit them one time exactly spot on in 3 years. So plus or minus 5, either side. If you're over 5, if you're under 5, that's fine. You're golden. I try to get as close as I can. And that's where the consistency comes in, where most people I see are down and then they're up here and they're all over the place. So the first goal that we have is just trying to figure out how to get them to be plus or minus 5 each day. Okay, so the criteria that we were talking about that is not on Weight Watchers, but is on macro counting and IIFYM is we're hitting them plus or minus 5 consistently every day. And second thing we're going to do is aim for protein first. So we already talked about that. And this is like super important. The third thing we want to do is we want to have 300 to 500 grams of fruits and vegetables each day. So that's really important. Do you like, Stephanie, do you like fruit?
I love fruit.
I do too. Have you ever been on a diet where you could have no fruit, where they took the fruit out? See,
I wouldn't do it.
I know, right? A lot of diets don't have fruit because they call it sugar. Well, yeah, it is, but it's a carb. So fruits have carbs, but they also have fiber, and they also have lots of other amazing micronutrients too. So when I was with my first bikini team, I always tell this story. The variety of food that we had was turkey, chicken, fish. We had spinach. I had 12 cups of spinach each day, 12 cups. Oh my God. And then we also had Ezekiel bread, and then we could also have a rice cake with jelly. That was it. We did that for 16 weeks. When I ended up at the end, I had 8 grams of fat in my diet each day, which is like the yolk of one egg, but the rest of it had no fat at all. I was very, very, very sick. There's not very much fiber in spinach, and 10 of the girls that were on our team had bladder infections from all the spinach. I feel like that's something that a lot of people think, I'm just going to have a certain restricted diet without fruits, without a lot of different things in it. And your body starts to really wants to draw things from other foods. So I have on there 300 to 500 grams of fruits and vegetables each day. You can have fruit. If you want bananas, I do a whole banana might be 128 grams of banana. And then I will have 300 grams of green beans, which was actually a can. If you eat canned green beans, maybe you like fresh ones, but that's about what we're talking about. When I'm doing my show prep, I have a lot more fruits and vegetables and a lot more vegetables because they fill me up a lot more. So if you're hungry, vegetables are going to be your go-to. You're going to get a lot of different nutrients in fruits and vegetables. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day. So if you want strawberries, you should absolutely have strawberries. And then blueberries are those 6-ounce containers. They're $1 each at Schnucks right now, which is awesome. So you can absolutely mix and match with your fruits and vegetables, but you're aiming for 300 to 500 grams a day. Could you have more? Yes, you can have more than that if you want to. You're just going to take those out of your carbs. So those are going to fit into your carbs. Now, when I was a clean eater, Patty, what? I know, right? When I was like super duper clean eater, I love watermelons. So I went next door to the farmer's market and got a whole watermelon, and I would stand at the sink and eat it, the whole thing, because I don't have a shut-off valve that tells me when I'm full. So I would just eat the whole watermelon. That is 345 carbs in one watermelon. Now, the thing about that is it's a super clean item because it came from Mother Earth, but I don't need 345 carbs. So literally I would gain weight from that. So when someone who's a clean eater says you have to eat clean, that's the only way to do it, that's fine. We need to have an amount. How much is the right amount for me to eat? So right now when I eat watermelon, I do eat it, but I get it down to 18 ounces, which is a lot, but that's 56 carbs. So that works for me. And that's how I manage to still have my watermelon, but not overeat the clean food. You can get heavy or gain weight in a surplus on clean food. A lot of people think you can't. Yes, you can. Because carbs are carbs, fats are fats, and proteins are proteins. So, okay, so we talked about 300 to 500 grams of fruits and vegetables each day. That's easy. Aim for protein first. We're also going to hit, I would love for you to strive for 35 different foods a week. What? Okay, so when you think about the food that you eat, if you're using MyNut Diary as your tracker, you're using FitnessPal. Are you Stephanie or MyNut Diary?
Yeah, I'm FitnessPal.
Okay.
Oh.
Is it?
My FitnessPal. Mm-hmm.
Patty, which one do you have?
My FitnessPal.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because it tracks into my Trainer Eyes too. Kate, which one did you get?
I do my FitnessPal.
Okay, that's awesome.
But I can always change if the other one is easier.
I like MyNut Diary better because, let me veer off for a second. I'm not going to tell you to go away from FitnessPal because it's been around for 100 years. It's like the old man of macro counters. It's been around forever. With FitnessPal, a couple things happen. If you aren't careful, it will revert you back to the macros that it gives you, that it provides for you. that's called a guided macro set. So once in a while that will actually happen. So be mindful of that. The database in FitnessPal, users can incorporate their own food into the database. So there's a story about my girl who, she says, Tracy, I'm gaining weight. I looked at her food journal and she was eating 6 bananas a day. Did I tell you this already? She ate 6 bananas a day. I was like, girl, why are you eating these bananas? She goes, well, I went through my FitnessPal and I scrolled down through all the bananas and I found the one that was 0 carbs and 0 fat and 0 protein and 0 calories. So I just ate that one.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is not a real banana. That's not a real thing at all. So the 6 bananas actually gave her 600 extra calories a day because she was logging something that had 0. You have to make sure that the things that you're logging in FitnessPal are correct. Yeah. So you can add your own food to any of the trackers, but just be mindful of that. We actually had another client who did the same thing. So it's not uncommon to find something that that has been an entry that wasn't completed, and then we end up being off on our macros quite a bit. So just be mindful of the database. With my program, My Net Diary, I actually add all my own food so that I'm looking at what I always added. And FitnessPal, you can too, because there's a lot of really good stuff with FitnessPal. Just those are a couple caveats to do. Also, if you're using FitnessPal, don't put your exercise in because it'll add more food onto your plan. You'll be like, I thought I was done, and then you're eating more food. I already figured out your exercise into that, so be mindful of that too. About 35 different foods. We had a client who said, now I have to shop and I have to pick 35 different foods. Okay, and that's not really even true at all. I get about between 13 and 17 different foods a day on my plan. My Net Diary has a total at the bottom that tells you how many different foods you had each day. You don't have to worry about it. Basically what I'm saying is don't be like the client who she had yogurt for breakfast, a Quest bar, and then she had lunch was a chicken breast and green beans, and then dinner was a salad. Like that's like next to no variety in her food. It's the same as when I was on my bikini team and I had 12 cups of spinach every day for 16 weeks. That's not what we're talking about. One day you may want to have, spinach. One day you want to have strawberries. Bring some different foods into your plan so that you're not bored. Okay. And that's going to help us all to have a really great balance of micronutrients and a lot of different styles of food so that we're overall, our picture of health is overall very good. Does that make sense? So don't get hung up on that too. Okay, so we talked about the 300 to 500. We're working on protein first. That's a secret. A lot of people don't know that, so that's good. No meal timing necessary. Consistency wins over perfection. So how are we doing so far? Feeling okay? Yeah? Okay, cool. Okay. We had talked a little bit. Okay, we talked about food variety. Oh, puppies here. Awesome.
Sorry, that's why I'm like looking over here and looking over here.
That's awesome. I love puppies. We're going to have a puppy in the studio too, I'm sure. We always bring our dogs up in there too. Okay, so let's talk about, this is another thing you want to write down. As a lifestyle client, you guys are on 80-20. And what I mean by 80-20 is 80% of your food each day should be nutrient dense and 20% is discretionary. So when we talk about what the term nutrient dense is, a lot of people assume that I mean clean or from Mother Earth or non-processed. That is simply not the case. We're looking for food that is what we call the quality of food would be considered better than a discretionary food. Okay, let me tell you what discretionary. Patty, do you want to guess what discretionary food is?
Pop-Tarts, donuts, candy, cookies.
I know. Yes, exactly. So 20% of my day could be something in that vein, and then 80% needs to be something that's a higher quality of food. Now, I will tell you where Snickers and Pop-Tarts all have nutrients. They have micro and macronutrients. Pop-Tarts are actually a pretty good item, and I'll tell you where they fit really well. But I know that discretionary food simply means food that I don't need every day, whereas I know that nutrient-dense food is going to have a lot of fiber and it's going to have a lot of things that are, wonderful for my body. So we're going to kind of give you that gray area. I don't use the term clean anymore, so you won't hear that from me, but you're looking for food that's going to be beneficial to your body. The 20% discretionary is awesome because we used to only do like 95/5. So for you guys, I think 80/20 is amazing. You have a lot of opportunities to be really flexible with your food, and that's awesome. So I want you to totally embrace that and enjoy it. Now, I have some clients who say, I don't want to eat any garbage. Well, that's cool. You don't have to. It's all right. You can eat whatever you want, and no one needs to really worry about such things. If you find yourself having 20% of your food is discretionary every single day, that still works. My brother is has diabetes, and he's kind of eats poorly. I'm just being honest with you. If he has a lot of food that is not, that we would consider discretionary. Now, if he has a salad, then that doesn't make him healthy, because the overall picture of his health is that he eats a lot of bad food. So in that case, as macro counters and IIFYMers, if we are eating 80% great and 20% is discretionary, if we have something that falls into the questionable category, that doesn't make us unhealthy, because we still have a really great picture of health. So does that make sense? We want to make sure that we're just eating really well for our bodies. And you can get all of the mandatories, which I call 300 to 500 grams of fruits and vegetables. That can all go easily into your 80%. So that's going to leave you some pretty nice ability to have some great food. Food quality does matter, but it's going to surprise you, or it may surprise you to know the things that are considered A-rated. I use MyNet Diary has a scanner, and then it also has an information page, and it rates the food. It doesn't rate it on whether it's clean or non-processed or dirty. It rates it based on the fiber, whether it has too much sodium, it just bases it on a whole picture of the food. So I myself have, through this journey, have gotten myself to where I only eat A and B rated food. That is because I'm an athlete and I really pay attention to that, but that also doesn't mean that I don't have something every day that has a C rating. Like, there's a couple things that I really like that I just have a little bit of that's a C rating. The thing that I found that was like a D or an F rating was those donuts from Entenmann's, the ones in the cake. Have you ever seen those? Like Entenmann's? They're made straight with lard. My uncle loves those. He eats like 2 or 3 boxes a day. He has a lot of health problems, but like that literally was a D and an F rated food. So if I had one of those, it would be fine, but I wouldn't want to have that all the time. So I keep my food rating pretty good. In your nutrient dense foods, one of the things that people think is it has to be like a whole food or a clean food or whatever. There's a lot of food that is shockingly, Cinnamon Toast Crunch actually is a B+. It depends on which package you look at, but it's an A- to a B+. Cinnamon Toast Crunch doesn't fall under discretionary food. Oddly, it falls under because it's a higher rated food. It has fiber in it. So, hello, that's something that I can have. And I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's my favorite cereal. So if you like that, that's cool. You can scan and you can take a look at your food. Now, Fitness Pal, I don't think rates it, but I will tell you that if it has a little bit more fiber in it, that makes it a higher level food. So hopefully that makes sense for you. Light and Fit Greek yogurt is one of my favorite sources of protein. They have a lot of different flavors, and they have some things that have crunchy, like pretzels and things in them. Those are still A-rated foods, even though they're processed. Who knew? So when you're thinking about discretionary food, think about, is this something that I would really eat every single day? That's where that would fall into. And no, you do not have to do 80-20 every day. Just 20 is the most discretionary amount of food you should have each day. Does that make sense, you guys? Did that help at all too? And that's going to help us through the holidays too, I think, a lot too. Okay, does anyone have any questions so far? I see Courtney on, but I didn't say hi to you. So I can't see you. I think she has her camera turned off too. But anyway, okay, so we were talking a little bit about, let's see. We talked about clean eating. I'm going through here. Okay, we talked about fat loss. That is called cutting. So if anyone says, what are you doing right now on your diet? Well, I'm on a cut. That's just a fancy pants term for just active fat loss. So for fat loss, let me tell you how this works. Now, most of you may or may not know my friend Donna. Donna and I went to high school together, and she came to me about 2 years ago. She's friends with Patty too. So, but Patty knows Donna, and did you see her transformation were you able to see that at all while she was?
Yeah.
I know. So she started off with me at a size 18, and we started working on macros together about 2 years ago. And that girl, oh, when is my belly going to go? Oh, when is my belly going to go? And that girl is now like, I keep telling her she's like just like a solid goddess. She's the same age as me. I think she's 50 now. You should see her body. She went from a size 18 and now she's like a 4, but she's like ripped out, and that is straight macros. So let me tell you what we did with Donna. We started her leaning. We got her nice and lean, and then we paused for a little bit because she had quite a bit of weight to lose. So we paused for a little bit, and then we gave her a little bit more food and a little bit more food and a little bit more food, and she kept leaning out. What? So with macro counting, it isn't the same as what I'm doing with you guys, isn't the same as linear weight loss, where she said, I lost 5 pounds this week, I lost 6 pounds next week, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She's recompositioning her whole body, and we're building muscle. So sometimes what we would do with that is we're going to drop your macros down because we want to get you into a cut first where you're starting to lose. And then we might pause you and give you a little bit more food and see how your body acts. This is a beautiful passage because what typically happens to people, and I don't know if you've known anybody like this where they've done a restricted diet, and then at the end of the diet, they go back to their old eating habits where they might have been at about 800 calories when they finished, and then they went back up to 2,500. What happened to them at that point? Do you guys know what happens to you when you do that? You gain it back, yes, and some extra. So I've been there before several times. The weird thing about that is that is called a rebound, and it happens in over 80% of people who restricted diet. So I would rather my clients never, ever do a restricted diet and stay at the weight they are if they aren't going to complete the project. You need to complete the project because here's what happens at the end of the other side. The thing that people don't know. When you get to the end and you say, I look great. I asked Donna, I go, how do you feel? She goes, I love the way I look right now. Let's stop here. We did a reverse. So write this down. Reverse dieting is awesome. When you do a reverse diet, basically what had happened to Donna is we gave her more food and we said, okay, here's a little bit more food. It's maybe 100 calories. So she might have been on 1,500. I gave her 1,600. We took pictures. I let her eat it. We'll see how it goes. A week later, we looked at her pictures. Did she feel fluffy? Was she feeling puffy? Nope, everything was good. We gave her 1,700. How do you feel? A week later, we just kept giving her incrementally a little bit more food, a little bit more food, a little bit more food. Pretty soon what happens is her body's like adjusting to that amount of food. All is well. All is well. Here's a little bit more. It's okay. It's okay. So now she was back up to 2,200 calories a day, lifting heavy, building some great muscle, looking awesome, and still getting leaner. So that's the point that where people miss a lot. And this is one of the secrets that I tell you. Do your cut. Finish your cut. Everything you've got in your body, get to the end. And then let me reverse diet you out of that. Once you get there, then the sky is the limit. It's all up to you what you want. If you want more shoulders, if you want more booty, we can do all of that with the right macros. So finish your cut. Once you're done, we reverse diet. What we don't want to do is start a cut, then have a lot of binges, and then start a cut and have a lot of binges. That is actually the same thing that I did for like 35 years. Restricted binging, restricted binging. So just try to figure out how you can make the 7 days work for you. So the reverse diet is really, really important. And that's what's going to happen to all of you. Donna was amazing and she like totally rocked that. And now she did a little bit of a cut this summer, and then now we're pushing her back up to food. So she's reverse dieting again. And every time we do that, she adds more muscle and gets leaner. So this is all like really important information too. And Kate, I know you have to go in a few minutes, but I have this recorded also. So if you can't catch it in the car, it's totally fine. I'll send you the link to.
I'm going to just swap over to my phone.
Yeah.
So I'll be right back.
Okay, that's good. That works for me too. Okay, so the reverse diet was super important. So we have to do that. All right. I want to tell you one thing that you really, really want to know. Once you learn how to do this, and I know when you first start, it's overwhelming and there's a lot of food and it's very confusing. This is the Holy Grail. It's 100% the Holy Grail. When you learn how to do it and you get better at it all the time, you keep getting better and getting better. We go into what we call intuitive dieting, where you won't even have to track. You'll know who you are. You'll know what you need to eat. I'm already counting that I've had 25 grams of protein today. I've had about 20 carbs. I already pretty much know what's going on in my diet. When you find yourself at a point where you say, oh my gosh, I put on a little fluff over the holidays, you can immediately dial it back in. You know how to do it. You'll always know how to handle every situation that's really comes at you based on your physique. You'll never have to start over again. There are times when I don't diet and I don't eat on my macros. That's normal. There are times when people do that and you take a break from dieting and you just kind of like let your brain breathe. That is totally fine. But when I'm ready to go back to it, I totally know how to snap right back into it. And that's something that most dieters don't know how to do because they're restricting and they're pulling away different foods and taking out food groups. So my hope and dream for you guys is that you just take the time, namaste, and don't get mad at yourself and just like try to learn something each day that you do this. And because as time passes, you're just going to get better and better at it. So that's one of the really important things I wanted to share with you. There's no stress allowed in this project at all. We're going to fix all the problems too. Okay, how are we doing so far? Yes? One of the things that we talked about not having any stress with this diet, I had a time frame where when I first started counting macros, I was starting to get a little bit cranky because my broccoli was taking too many of my carbs. I was finding myself wanting to add a lot more goldfish crackers and peanut butter and things that were probably more on the discretionary table, and I wasn't really paying a very good attention to that. So that's when I flew too close to the sun. And this is where macro counting for me became something, it started out just trying to learn it, but then now I'm really trying to focus on the health aspect and how I feel about it. So as you get better into it, certain foods are going to affect you differently. You may find that we had a client who said, I stress eat all the time. I just can't stop. Once I start with the M&M, I can't stop I just stress eat them. Okay, that may very well be, but also I can tell you from personal experience and from clients who also had the same issue, some foods trigger you to eat more. So I know for a fact there's a Quest bar that exists out here. It's called the s'mores version of the Quest bar. That thing has something in it that triggers me to eat the entire pantry of everything. So that's something that I cannot have because it immediately triggers me. And I don't know why, but I just figured it out by doing my tracking. Another thing that happens to this, reaching, okay. Hello. Yeah. Okay. This right here, if I sit down and eat one of these, I will eat this whole box because I have done that for a very long time, all the time. That is a reaction that I have to Pop-Tarts. Now, what I do when I want to eat a Pop-Tart is I use this pre-workout. So one Pop-Tart pre-workout is amazing because I still get a Pop-Tart and I'm not looking for it and I'm not going, oh, I can't have that. That's no good. The Pop-Tart pre-workout actually works really well for me. So for me, because I do have the tendency to binge on sugar items, I'll use those things like cookies. Here's my Tahoes. This is another pre-workout. Oh, this one is awesome for pre-workout too. I'll use it before I train. And I know, Patty, you go to Body Pump, and that's when you want to use your Pop-Tart or whatever it is that you like. Because every single day I get that, and I'm happy to have it, and I'm not restricted from it, but I'm going to use that energy and I'm going to burn it off in my class or in my workout. And that way I'm not like at a place where I've got this sitting on my couch and I'm just continually eating all the boxes of Pop-Tart. Do you see what I'm doing here? Does that make sense? Whereas I can still eat what I want to, but I learned myself, I can't just have a Pop-Tart and say, oh, sure, that sounds great, I'll have one, because I know myself. So with macro counting, whereas when I was on other diets, I couldn't have anything like that at all, but now I can, but I learned that I need to use that for energy. So that's one of the things that a lot of people are trying to figure out, where they best can place that discretionary food. If you find that it doesn't trigger you and you're golden, that's awesome. But this program is about you. So I'm trying to help you with some experiences that I had too. I still like to eat this stuff. If I feel super wobbly on my, like I'm entertaining a binge, then I'm definitely not going to do that because I don't trust myself. And it's been 3.5 years that I've been doing this. So I'm still I struggle still, and I'm not shy about telling you that because it's real. But it is a journey and it is a path that you can do well with. You just need to remember that you're learning something each day that you do it too. Okay. So do you guys have any questions about protein, getting your protein in?
Not really any questions about it necessarily, but in the beginning, well, and actually still, it's hard sometimes for me without doing a protein shake. Last night, I tried to do it, and I ended up like doing one of the flex bowls. And so I had my chicken breast, like the 4 ounces, and then I started out with some the IIFYM yogurt, and then I added some bananas and strawberries and pineapple. And then to get the rest of my fat in, I put some walnuts in there. But it ended up being such a huge bowl, like I could literally not even finish it. And I was not happy about that, but I actually felt nauseous. I'm like, I'm going to save it for breakfast because I really want to keep it down.
Okay.
So it's really hard for me to get all the protein in without doing a shake. I really tried last night, but I couldn't do it. So.
Do you not want to do a shake, Patty?
No, and I've been doing shakes every single day. That's usually how I get the rest of my protein in at the end of the day, which is fine, and I know that's fine. I just wanted to see if I could do it without, and I did it, but I just wasn't able to eat all the food. It was too much.
I feel the same way too for you. Boy, did you learn something today too. That's awesome.
Yes,
The interesting thing about this shake is I get 5 sources of protein every single day. So the first protein I get is I do egg whites, and then I also do a shake, and then I also do a bar, a Questy, and then I also do 1 meal of meat because I don't really care for meat that much. And then I might do Greek yogurt or cottage cheese or cheese dairy. So those are my 5 things. The egg whites in the morning for me, that's the only time I really have them. And I don't eat egg whites, so I did them in a pancake. I make them in a pancake. So I'm able to get 5 different sources of protein. The reason I do 5 different sources of protein is because each protein source delivers the protein at different speeds. And the whey shake for you, Patty, would be great after your workout. So maybe just shoot a shot of that or have it ready to go post-workout, because then you're going to automatically, your pre-workout is going to be 25 grams of protein, and then your post-workout is going to be 25 grams, and that's going to take you up to 50. So you have, I don't remember what you have in protein. Is it like 160 for you?
143.
Okay, so that's going to leave you 90 for the day. That way you're not going to be left with that giant flex bowl. One of the things that I like what you said is you put the walnuts in, and those are your essential fatty acids, so you're golden on without having your fish oil. Way to go. But you could build that flex bowl in your tracker earlier in the day so it's exactly what you want it to be without trying to do the dangling macros version of that. Like, you could make a beautiful flex bowl that had all the stuff you wanted in it and put it in your tracker and eat around it so that the day was full and you had your dinner already in there. It doesn't have to be a flex bowl. but one of our clients, we call her Sneaky. She puts in a fake dinner and then she eats around it, and then she pulls out that fake dinner and then puts in what she wants, which I thought was a brilliant idea, because those macros are already taken. But you could actually eat the dinner. You don't have to be sneaky. You could just either put what you want in there so that you're not left with that over. My husband, I always tell this story. When he first started macro counting, he was in the refrigerator. It was like really late at night. I was like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm eating mayonnaise." And he was eating mayonnaise out of the refrigerator. And I was like, "Why?" And he said, "Because I have all this fat that I have to eat. I have 60 grams of fat that I have to eat, and I just have to finish it before the day is over." And I'm like, "No, you don't." It's fine. So really, don't eat mayonnaise, or don't eat, like, if you end up with a lot of food that you can't eat at the end of the day, I think you did the exact right thing and just like said, "I'm done." And then like really like said, "Okay, what can I do tomorrow to like figure out how to do that too?" So does that make sense? That was actually a really good story and a really good learning experience, because I've been there where you're like, "This is way too much. I can't even." And your body's like, "I don't want that. I don't want that. It's too much." When you start, like, if you give me a box of Cheez-Its, I can eat that whole thing like really quickly and be like, "Where's the food?" But like when you start eating like nutrient dense food, it's hard to get all that food down because it's a lot of food. Did you notice that too?
Yes, it is a lot of food. Like there's some days I'm just like, I seriously cannot eat like 1900 calories. It just seems like so much. So, but
It is a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so let's talk about that. Steph, how you doing so far?
Doing good.
Are you feeling me? Are we connecting on this at all too?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
good. So Patty brought up a really interesting thing, whereas she has a lot of food and she's overwhelmed. This happens a lot to people who are new to macro counting. And a lot of it is exactly the reason that I just said. When we eat foods like Cheez-Its or, chippy things at Ballpark Village or whatever, I can inhale like all that food so much faster. When I start having to utilize nutrient-dense food, it fills you up quite a bit faster. So protein is going to fill you up. The fats are going to make you full. And that's like a really big struggle for a lot of people. So write this down. We're going to use a food term called nutrient-dense foods versus volume foods. Now, nutrient-dense is something like quinoa. If I have a lot of carbs that I need to eat, I've got like 48 carbs left and I don't want to eat a lot of food because I'm really full, quinoa is the bomb, because like this much quinoa is like literally 40 carbs. So nutrient dense foods are going to be foods that are extremely dense and in a small amount. So a client who has a lot of food that they need to eat is going to have something like, wow. The walnuts was a good choice. If you had a lot of fats left over, I know that walnuts are something that a lot of people would eat Trader Joe's nuts by the bagful. That's going to send their fat content off the chain. I think it's 1 ounce of walnuts is maybe 20 grams of fat or somewhere in there. So like literally my husband could have gone with walnuts instead of mayonnaise. I think that would have been a much better choice. But those are very nutrient dense. Whereas if I have not very much fat that I'm going to eat, I'm going to spread that out with maybe like string cheese or something that's going to give me a lot more food for the amount that I'm going to eat. So nutrient dense foods. Patty, do you end up with more protein left over or carbs left over that you're trying to hit?
Right. Since I work really hard at making sure I get the protein, what I'm finding that I'm having extras is the carbs.
Okay.
I have no problem eating the fat whatsoever usually.
Okay, cool. Yeah. This is good. Okay, so tell me how many carbs you have each day.
I'm usually, by the time I get finished with the day, or when I think I'm finished with the day, I'm usually at around 160 to 180. So I'm not quite meeting that 190 that I'm supposed to be getting, but I'm getting close.
That's good. Okay, so I'm going to tell you something that I learned 2 weeks ago, and I think this is going to help a lot, possibly. We have a client named Collie, and she knows that I talk about her. She's a beautiful girl. She has lost 57 pounds since February. We took it really slow. She steadily lost 1 to 1.5 pounds a week. Okay. What we struggled with wasn't anything regarding the fat loss. It was about the food. She had a hard time getting her carbs in during the week. But also what she also noticed was that she liked to go out with her boyfriend on the weekend, and she typically as a normal person would eat less during the week and more on the weekends. So at first we were like, how can we make this work and blah, blah, blah. We decided to go with Collie and just try her way, whereas she would be a little bit tighter during the week and have more carbs on the weekend. And amazing things happened. She continued to eat the way she normally did with a lot more food on the weekends, and she still was losing steadily. So what was the light bulb that went off for me on this was we didn't have to try to fit the profile of having plus or minus 5 for her all day, every day when she wanted more food on the weekend. You can take those carbs that you don't eat on the week, during the week. If you're having a hard time hitting them, Patty, bank them and save them for the weekend, because then you're going to be able to utilize a basic form of carb cycling where you can just take, if you have 20 each day that you've left over, then you have 100 each on the weekend that you can spend, because it's easier for us to be able to fill those on the weekend. So that might be something, instead of like focusing on, oh my gosh, I still have to eat all these carbs. That's fine. You can hold those back too. And I think that's a valuable plan for the holiday. Because I know I don't need as much food on a day I don't work out. If I didn't train yesterday, so I didn't really need all the carbs that I would normally allow myself for. Plus I had that 25 carbs pre-workout that I didn't eat. So I could throw that over onto the weekend. Does that make sense at all too?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that when you're thinking about what I have to hit, protein and fat for sure. Carbs we can play with. If you end up with extra leftovers, then just throw them onto the weekend. Just try to remember them. You can just jot them down. You don't have to change your tracker or anything. But that's where we get into where it fits you. And my whole thing with that story was we were trying so hard to do the right thing that we stopped listening to what the Collie thing was. And the Collie thing worked better because it was her. So she was way more successful when she didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to eat all this food. And now, oh my gosh, I'm out of food over here. We just tried to namaste that and just say, like, let's see what happened. So maybe that's something that we need to think about, who you are, Patty, and what literally works for you. Let's investigate that. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, cool. That sounds like we made some progress too. That sounds awesome. Okay, so when we were talking about, I lost my train of thought too. We talked about the dangling macros. Stephanie, sometimes at the end of the day, you'll get your tracker done and you'll be like, oh, I have 20 carbs and 30 grams of protein and 15 grams of fat. Those are called dangling macros and no one knows what to do with them. Usually they post on Facebook, which makes me so mad. Stop asking other people what to eat. You can figure it out. The thing that you want to, I put this in my book, is rippedrecipes.com. Have you been to that yet?
Not yet. I saw it.
Oh, you got it. Okay. So, Patty, did you go to Ripped Recipes yet?
No, I haven't. I need to do that. I'm off this week, so I'm going to do a whole lot of investigating, a lot of stuff.
Ripped Recipes is awesome. And let me tell you how and why this is great. And if you can still hear me, Kate, too, you're going to love this, you guys. Ripped Recipes is for macro counters by macro counters, for bodybuilders by bodybuilders. Everyone who contributes to that site is the bomb.com on macro counting. So basically what the site is, you have sliders and it says how many carbs, how many fats, how many proteins do you want? And then you put those in, and then there's a little filter on the side. It says, do you want it paleo? Do you want it low carb? Do you want it gluten-free? Do you want it vegan? Do you want it 5 minutes or less, 5 ingredients or less? Do you want to cook today? You put all those filters in, and then it starts giving you recipes that will fit your macros. So the reason that I like that is we had a client this week that said, I feel bored with my food. And then Donna posted, ripped recipes, girl, because if you really literally can't figure out what to do, just go there. Just start looking at your style of food that you're looking for and then getting ideas. So I like everything that looks like a 4-year-old. So I always click dessert. And then I always get all of these great recipes. So there's always things like protein cookie dough. That is made out of garbanzo beans. A lot of people don't dig it, but I do. It's got like 1,000,000 grams of protein. It's really solidly nutrient dense. And it also has chocolate chips in it. So I'm like totally happy. That's one of the things that I eat, but I found that on Ripped Recipes. The other thing you can do is Ripped Recipes has a lot of things that incorporate like Quest bars. If you're not a Quest bar fan, I get it, but you can make so many awesome sauce things with this. There was one day my husband said, "What do you want for dinner?" And I was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out." So I went to Ripped Recipes. I took the chocolate chip cookie dough Quest bar, cut it in half and baked it for about 5 minutes. And it created 2 cookies, which like, who knew that you bake the cookie dough when it makes cookies? Okay, whatever. So then I took protein and then I took Cool Whip. And then I mixed those two, the protein powder and Cool Whip. And then I had chocolate chips in there. And I think it had pumpkin in it because it was during the fall, and made a cookie sandwich. Okay, so that recipe actually had probably 50 grams of protein. It had about 28 carbs in it, 30 carbs. But it also had more fiber than a turkey breast and green beans. So for me, I didn't want a turkey breast and green beans. I wanted a cookie sandwich for dinner. I went right to Ripped Recipes. That took me 10 minutes to make that. So the way that I use Ripped Recipes is I go through like on Sunday and I'll just be like, this looks good. You can actually put your whole day's macros in that you're looking for. Like if you have Patty has like 1900, you put that in with all your macros. It'll start giving you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you can tag this one, tag that one, save them. And then you've got your whole day planned out. The interesting thing about that is the recipe itself has on the page, it has the macros for every serving and what it needs to weigh. So you're going to weigh out your serving. If it's only one serving, then it's going to give you the macros for it. You can absolutely modify any recipe that you want to. If you don't like agave, don't take the carbs for agave. I don't need it. I'll use Splenda instead. I have gotten to where I can really modify a lot of recipes on Ripped Recipes. One day for dinner, we decided we were going to have watch some movies. So I went to Ripped Recipes. My dinner was six cupcakes, and they had fresh raspberry lemon icing that I made with yogurt and protein powder. The cupcakes themselves utilized almond flour, coconut flour, and a little bit of wheat flour. So they were a little bit tedious to make, but I didn't care because that was going to be my dinner. I got 6 cupcakes for dinner, which was fabulous. So it didn't look like a turkey chicken breast. The other thing about it is if you want something that's savory, you're going to find all of that on there too. So it's really going to be super fun for you to go there and just get some thoughts. Another thing that I also do with Ripped Recipes is I find a lot of recipes that I think I might want to make, and then I shop to have the things on hand that I want. So one of the things I'm definitely going to have on hand would be chocolate chips. I use the Ghirardelli dark chocolates. Very small. I could count out 16 of those, but they're so good. And it's a superfood because it's the dark cacao. Almond flour, coconut flour, just those real basics that are almost ending up in all the recipes. You can have those on hand. So if you have to throw something together, then you've got a lot of those things on hand too. But I was able to utilize, one day I did lunch on Ripped Recipes. I had some sushi salmon or lox from Schnucks. And I took Greek yogurt cream cheese, the sushi salmon, and rolled it up into, and I put some like onions or scallions in it, and I rolled it in lettuce. And that actually had a really great macro profile without having turkey, chicken, and fish and vegetables. It was amazing. But that took less than 5 minutes for me to make that up. And Greek yogurt cream cheese has a lot of protein in it. So if you're a fan of, sometimes I do for my protein, I'll just do Greek yogurt cream cheese and salmon, which is awesome. So like that's got a lot of protein. It's just something different for you. You'll find some interesting recipes there. Their Pinterest board and their Instagram is insane. So if you get a chance to look at them over the holiday, that's going to be awesome for you. Another place you can go to is a site my mom uses called allrecipes.com. that's the kind of the big website that everyone cooks from. So if you have to bring something to a holiday event, you can actually go to that website. It has a widget, so it'll say how many servings would you like the macros for. So if you make cowboy caviar, Texas caviar, you can get the macros for all of those things just by the serving. So when you bring something to an event, then you definitely have the macros for it too. Does that make sense? All of those recipe sites are starting to give you the macros for it. So let's talk about, Patty, did you have another question? I probably veered off.
I actually kind of do. And this, I don't know, this may help other people too, but ever since I've started this, I keep looking at that 1,900 calories. It just seems like so much. Like, especially on the days that I don't work out, I just keep questioning, like, I really need to eat this much food on the days that I'm not working out and not burning it off. I know there's a science to it and there's a reason why we're doing it. I kind of feel like I need to hear that again.
Okay.
So can you explain that? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, your body does burn a certain amount of calories each day just by breathing. So we took that amount of calories that you would normally eat and we cut that down for you so that we could get you into a deficit. Okay. So I feel that you're looking at that calorie number, and I would like for you to not look at that. Hit the macro numbers, because the macro numbers themselves equal up to be the calories. When you're looking at your tracker and you say, I still have 300 calories to go, there's going to be a margin of error in the trackers based on that, the fact that some foods are 14.2 grams of calories per gram. So don't look at the number, just aim for the 190 carbs or the 56, whatever your macros are, and hit your fiber. You are still very new, and we still have to get super consistent. What's going to happen is your body is going to be like, hey, I'm getting this amount of food every single day, and I'm starting to be consistent on it. What's going to happen is you're going to start getting hungry, and you're going to be like, could you please give me more food? Could you please give me more food? So what you're telling me is 100% normal for most clients when they first start. So we want to just kind of, I put you in a deficit, and our goal is to try to just get you consistent on it. Now, we did also figure out that on the days that you don't train, you can take those carbs, those pre and post workout carbs out and put them on the weekend. So that's going to cut your calories down. That's called carb cycling, and that is fine. Does that maybe make you feel better? Would that be?
Yeah. I never really thought about, I knew about it, but I haven't used that yet, the carb cycling, which that will really help. So I know there's like one dinner that we do during the week. Dave has his favorite place he likes to go, and they have a grilled chicken sandwich there with bacon and cheese and stuff, but they also have these like really amazing tater tots that I like a lot. And I find myself like literally having to count the tater tots to make sure that, I'm not getting too much or whatever. So, and I get kind of bummed out because I'm like, oh, I still have like 12 tater tots and I can't eat them because then I'll go over. So knowing that I can kind of, bank some, I could still have my tater tots and that would make me happy. So yes, that will definitely help.
Okay, that's a good idea. So that's a good problem solving technique too. And I am on my big leg day, because we train with deadlifts, and Stephanie knows that that's what, I'm going to eat more food on that day because my workout is killing me, because I'm in the studio from morning till night, with you guys deadlifting. So I'm definitely going to eat more food on that day. On the day yesterday, I didn't train at all. I wanted to dial my food back a little bit because I felt like I needed more on that other day. So that's 100% doable as long as you stay within the 7 days of being in a deficit. Basically, how that works out for you is if I have 100 carbs a day, after 7 days, the total number of carbs I need to have eaten was 700. How I slice that up is up to me. So that's going to give you the chance to be able to have the food that you want on the weekend. You remind me a lot of Polly, because I don't want you to be disappointed because you can't have the tater tots. Let's try to figure out the problem and figure out how we can make that work. And I think this is probably going to be super helpful for you. Then you're not left with a food you don't want to eat when there was food that you did. And that's kind of the journey, but I really like that we talked this out too. How are we doing with, okay, so what I wanted to say about carb cycling, it's in the book, but I always say this. We had one client who saved all her fats and carbs for the whole week, all of it, and then ate everything on the weekend. Okay, so that's not really what we're doing. The binge aspect of that was off the chain, but there is no such thing as fat cycling. Your fats are super important for you. They're based on a ratio. So whatever it is that you weigh, we brought you into about 20 to 23% of your food is fat. If your carbs are lower, your fats are going to be higher. We can play with that, but basically we're not taking you below 20% fat grams for your body weight. So you do need that. Fats also help your leptin levels or help your hormone levels stay balanced. So when I didn't have fats in my diet, I got really, really sick. I had 8 grams of fat a day for 16 weeks. I got 2 eye diseases. I lost 30% vision in one eye. My immune system just dropped in just crazy. So on the end of a respiratory infection, I became really, really sick. A lot of that stuff has to do with the fact that people stop eating fats, and your fats are really important. Now, one way you can do this is if you find that around your workout, you're not going to have as many fats as you probably would later in the day. Your workout is going to be 10 grams of fats or less, because if you're eating Pop-Tart plus whey protein pre-workout and then Pop-Tart or whey protein after your workout, then you don't want to have a lot of fat in there because it's going to slow your workout down. So this Quest bar is really almost the perfect pre-workout, because it's 7 grams of fat, 23 carbs, and then it's also 20 grams of protein. So it's really literally the perfect one. I may have a little bit of extra banana with that if I have to get my carbs up to 30 or something, but it's fantastic. And plus it's not a lot of food. My first coach made me eat egg whites before I trained. Oh, like you'd be, oh girl, no, don't eat. I mean, everything's just like churning and it's yucky. But that's what she thought was the right thing for me to do. It wasn't the right thing for me to do. It did not make me feel well. It did not give me enough energy. So when I'm picking things for pre-workout, I'm definitely going to pick things that are definitely going to make me happy, give me energy to work out, and just definitely not have a lot of fat. A lot of girls eat peanut butter before they work out. Well, I had peanut butter before. Well, that's a bazillion grams of fat. So you're slowy McSlowerson when you're deadlifting. That's not going to work. Now, on the other hand, because I have used all my proteins or I have a lot of my protein and carbs used in the pre-workout bracket, I have a lot of fats left over. So during the rest of the day is when I'm actually going to be like, girl, I am so hungry right now. That's where your fats come in. And your fats are going to satiate you and make you feel like you don't need to eat all the time. So I kind of I time my food a little differently. So that I have my fats in the tricky areas of my day where I'm like, usually want to binge out or have some afternoon treats. The fats are going to work for me. I use a lot of almond butter. I like almond butter better than peanut butter because I don't feel like I want to overeat I feel like I want to overeat peanut butter because peanut butter is life. But almond butter, I can actually weigh it out and it's fantastic. So I'm like, okay, that had enough. That's good too. And that Justin's stuff, the Justin's brand. Oh Lord. Oh my goodness. But we have, I actually, for peanut butter, I have those little small, Jif ones. They're not 100 calories, but they're like 1 ounce of peanut butter in the container. That is good for someone who likes to eat out the jar. So, okay. So that's where your fats go. So when you think about not cycling your fats, just make sure you definitely hit your fats and your protein each day. Your carbs you can play with. Does that feel okay to you guys?
Yeah.
That might make it a little easier for you, Patty. Give you some joy back in your food, right?
Yes.
I guess my thing is, if I'm working out early in the morning, what would be the best thing to eat since it's so early?
It is early. I'll often eat this on the way to the studio. I stop at Starbucks and get coffee because that's my thing every day. I eat a pancake before I go, but like I said, if you don't get up to cook, because I get up at 3:30, so like it's not. Well, that's just me. But Like that makes sense. I go to bed at 7, you guys.
Mhm.
Oh, hi.
Hello. So, but yeah, like this is a good pre-workout. The pre-workout that we do on deadlift day, what's your macros? Did I give you macros, Stephanie? Do you know how many carbs you have?
Oh. Ugh.
Like 170. I think 170.
Yeah, I just had it pulled up. I think it's 170.
Yeah. Okay, so the Pop-Tart pre-workout. This is why the Pop-Tart is the macro counter poster child for, oh my gosh, for the whole internet. Because the Pop-Tart is 30, this one is 38 carbs. So you're at 170. 20% of your carbs would be 34. On deadlift day, you're going to go up to 30. So now there's math involved. Patty, help me out. 30% of, oh, Patty, 17 times 3 is what? You're going to be in the 40, 43, 41 area. But anyway, the Pop-Tart actually is 38 carbs. It's only 5 grams of fat, though. And then it also has no protein. So if I'm deadlifting, I have this, plus I shoot a shot of protein. Protein, I don't do a big thing in the morning before I go because it'll slash if I do HIIT or if I'm jumping around or whatever. I don't want anything sloshing. So I usually just end up putting it in a small container with almond milk and shoot it. So it's only this much. But that equals out to be the perfect pre-workout. Plus you can eat that in the car. Totally fine.
Yeah, that's something that I need is just something, because I wake up at like 5:30 and
I know, right? It's so good we have open gym because you can just get there and get going. You don't have to fret about it. The other thing that I do, if I do have a shake, the shake that I have been having on my arm days is going to be, I do banana, I do 20 grams of oats, and then I do my whey protein with almond milk, and then I have some creatine that's orange flavored that I mix in with that too. But that equals out like a dreamsicle. And by the time I grind all that stuff up, it's real smooth. But that for me was a really great workout. And then my last show prep, like once I did that, I felt really good. I had been like kind of lackadaisical, taking carbs out and just like kind of playing with that. I felt amazing because it had the banana, which was a quickie carb. It had the oats, which was a kind of a more longer duration carb, which kept me going longer. So if you find that when you're doing your workout and you're like, I ran out of energy halfway through the workout because the Pop-Tart was gone, you could do half a Pop-Tart for, that would be 17 grams or 19 grams of carbs, and then do a portion of a banana or oats. You know, like you can mix and match. It doesn't have to be a Pop-Tart. It just, you know, I just use that because it's a high insulin spike for me when I'm getting ready to lift. And it's gone. By the time I'm leaving the building, that Pop-Tart is long gone. We've used it up. So we're not storing it. It's not the same as couch time Pop-Tarts. So this cookie is, I'm just like, I told you I eat like a 4-year-old. One cookie is 7 grams of fat, 17 carbs. So you could do a cookie plus protein plus anything. This one I have used this one. I think I deadlifted with this one plus some protein powder. So this one has 16 grams of protein. This one had 54 grams of carbs. This was a deadlift cookie. Hey girl, there was some carbs in that too. I loved it. I love these cookies. They're everywhere now though. They're so good. One serving is half of that though. I do 2 a day. I eat the whole cookie every day though, the whole one. So does that make sense with the carb cycling and the fats and stuff? That one client who fat cycled, I was like, girl, that is not a thing. So don't do that. So just make sure you get your fats in too. So that's good. I think I wanted to just make sure I'm checking my book here to make sure I have covered everything. Fiber goals. We talked about 35 different foods. Patty, any other questions for you?
I think we got everything covered that I had concerns about. I think now I just got to try to focus this week while I'm off and really kind of get myself on being more consistent.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? There actually was the one thing. I mean, this isn't going to be like a normal thing for me. Obviously, going to Nashville was not like typical in any way, shape, or form. But I am still like wrestling with the math and trying to figure out how to log alcohol, like if you choose to have a glass of wine or whatever. Like that's why I had that 1,300 calorie day, because I left some macros empty on purpose after dinner that night so that I could add the alcohol back in. But I'm looking at this and I'm reading about it. I'm just like, I just don't get it. Math is not my forte. Let's just
Well, it's not mine either. So I would have to pull that up for you and do the alcohol math for you. Did the blog post not help you with that too?
I mean, it did to an extent, but like I say, math, just my brain gets scrambled really easily and I get frustrated and I'm just like, never mind. I just let it go.
Well, I'm going to tell you the reason there is no coach that says alcohol on a cut is a good thing, because one of the things that happened is the first thing that we have is sort of that thing where we say, screw it, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. So that's me normally. If I'm cutting and I'm trying to do a fat loss, I don't drink it because I'd rather have the protein, carbs, and fats in food form. But secondly, I tend to just say, screw it, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. And then the next 24 hours, you're not processing, you're eating way more food than you wanted to. Right away, as a new macro counter, I would try to just pull it out so we can see some results I would leave it out for a while. And then let's see if we can add it back in, because you're trying to overcome so many things at one time. We need to get you consistent at first. And that's kind of throwing a monkey in the wrench there. But the other thing that happens too is your body starts to process the alcohol right away, and it processes it differently. So what we don't want to see is anything stored that you ate afterwards. So that's one of the reasons why when you start macro counting, yeah, it does fit. It's a possibility. It's just that it's really detrimental to the cut when you're a brand newbie. We'll get you there, but let's get you some results first, because we got to see if we're on the right track first. So I usually have everybody forget the alcohol for a couple weeks until I can see if the macros are correct, and we can adjust them, and then we'll work on it. Can we do that? Maybe try.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, normally alcohol is kind of a non-issue for me, but girls' weekend, it was kind of one of those things. And it just happened to already be scheduled before we started this. Yeah. So.
Of course. That is absolutely true. And that's something that we'll work on. That's one of those things that as the longer we do it, we start to get into more heavy duty stuff where we can really master it. This is just right now baby steps, just trying to get you some results so we can get those pictures looking the way you want them to also too. But that's a very good question. We should totally just do a half-hour class on alcohol. That'd be great. And then we can have some beer. I don't know. We'll figure it out too. Steph, are you having any questions too?
Not right now, but I probably will later.
Yeah. And anytime you guys are having questions in the studio, or you want to pop on, I can pop on to Zoom anytime. We can just pop on and just, take a 10-minute time to go over it. It's easier than email, back and forth on email if you just want to chat it up like that too. So
I'm good.
I don't really think that I don't think that I have anything else going.
Hold on one second.
I don't think I have any other, I probably missed something, but if you have any other questions, just let me know. We talked about dangling macros. We talked about planning your getting your food into the tracker. This, I'm just going to tell you a secret really quick, and I'll let you go. We've got a couple people who are fly by the seat of the pants. They go, oh, we're having Subway for breakfast. Okay, oh, we're having this for lunch. What have I got left? Do it. Okay, that is not me. I'm a control freak, type A. I used to go in and fill out my menu ahead of time. So I would go into my tracker, build out the whole day, and then I would eat that or copy it and put it up on my refrigerator and not track and just be on the menu. So if you're a person who needs the menu, the dreaded menu, that's how you do it. Then you don't have to track because you already did it. What typically happens, though, is you start to become a Tetris macronista, where you start sliding stuff out and you're like, oh, are we going to Qdoba tonight? Oh, but I already said I was going to do this. You can slide something else out and slide something else in. So if you build the day out, I often will build out my day and then I start sliding things out to what we decide we're having for dinner too. So that's an option for you as well. So being a little bit prepared makes a huge difference. Having your food, ahead of time of what you want to eat and what you're going to be eating is amazing. But don't be afraid to slide stuff in and out. Sites like Breadco. I went to Starbucks.com and they had a lot of their drinks. All their drinks are listed with the macros. And Qdoba and Breadco have the widget on their site that if you put the salad in and you take out the croutons, it gives you the macros with everything that's on it minus the croutons or the dressing. It allows you to build and then have your macros for it. So the world is actually catching up with us. You're going to start seeing that a lot more as more people start to do macro counting. So don't be afraid to do that. Fatsecret.com is the best place. If you're out, Patty, we were at Roadhouse and I took up fatsecret.com and found that I actually weighed my sweet potatoes because they're a pound. I got it down to like a quarter pound and ate only that. I take my scale with me because I'm an athlete and that's what I have to do. But you guys won't need to do that unless you just want to. But like portion sizes and stuff, you can eat at restaurants. Just find it on Fat Secret and then like realize what their serving size is and what you need to eat to make it fit your macros. But when we were at California Pizza Kitchen, I was in my prep, so I was pretty restricted. But I was on Fat Secret and found actually something called a tricolor pizza. And it was just a pizza crust and it had a salad on top of it. And that was only 30 carbs for half of the pizza. And I was like, yeah. And it wasn't on the menu. We just asked them if they could make it and they did. So fatsecret.com is amazing because it allows you to be able to search through most restaurants. If you get to a Mexican restaurant and you say, but they don't have El Maguey on here, you can look up burrito from, a Mexican restaurant burrito and kind of get a pretty good idea of what the macros would be on that. So remember that perfection is not what we're looking for. It's consistency. And when you are in doubt and you're at a restaurant, just eat less than what you think you should eat. If you can, dial it back or put it aside. That's going to always help you because you're still trying to eat less and be in a deficit. So I'm going to be a little bit wary, but that doesn't mean you can't go out and you shouldn't enjoy the food that you have as we go through this journey too. That was something I had wanted to tell you. So any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming today. You guys are always welcome. When we do another basic, we'll do some, and our sleekers are always welcome to these meetings. I'm so glad we got to chat today. If you have any other questions, holla, okay? Bye, you guys.
Bye, Tracy.
Bye now. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.